Developer Direct done. Got a really good idea of the roadmap now for Xbox in 2024, because overall this was a great showcase. Like, I really did like everything that was shown here. Walking away from a showcase and saying everything that's there I'm going to play and I liked is exceedingly rare. So that is kudos to Xbox for showing good content here. So we had 5 in total to go through. We're going to go through it in order as we saw it during the showcase, beginning with Avowed. So let's get started with that. Avowed is a Matty game. We already know this, right? I don't really need to go over it too much more than that. It has that open level exploration instead of open world. It's segmented into multiple regions, meaning to me that there's going to be more meaningful character opportunities, more meaningful questing opportunities. Choice and consequence can be more prevalent in the game. And when you have that combined with some nice action RPG systems, you've won my heart already. Obsidian's never steered me wrong in the past. They've made some of my favorite games of all time, from KOTOR 2 to Fallout New Vegas to The Outer Worlds. I've adored all of these games, and even the games that I doubted them on, maybe like Pentiment or even something like Grounded, they've continued to blow me away with the quality of their products. I will say this though, I was kind of surprised that the showing for Avowed felt more reserved, more not going into the thick of things like I was hoping for. I have a general idea of what Avowed is, but I didn't walk away from this showing feel like I learned anything more. I went, okay, first person action RPG. We saw a bit of the dialogue systems, but I didn't get to see, like, are there skill checks in the game? How are we doing character progression in this game? What happens when I level up? They claimed in the Xbox Wire post that this would be a deep dive, but to me, Avowed's presentation was more along the lines of something surface level. It didn't look bad. It looks exactly like a type of game that I'm going to love, but I wanted to learn more about it, more story, more characters. And I connected with that part of myself more when, as I was watching the presentation, I felt myself lean forward slightly, get into it more when they started showing off the world spaces and getting into the things you're going to explore, what you're going to find, getting to the heart of that. I wanted to see more of that. I didn't feel like we got it. We did get a good look at the combats in Avowed. This is hilarious because it's coming from a guy who enjoys Bethesda Game Studios games, but the melee combat was not feeling it. The wand combat, though, you could tell that's what they spent the most time on. That looks sick. I'm all about that. The interactivity, I think, is going to feel really good. Freezing an enemy with like your wand and then stabbing them. It reminds me a lot of Skyrim when they introduced that dual wielding system. It was so revolutionary at the time. So this feels like they're taking a lot of that and evolving it in ways that you would have expected years ago, probably, if the Elder Scrolls 6 came within a window that we had hoped for. So if you look at it through that window, I think Avowed is going to deliver for many people. I don't know what the general scuttlebutt is online. Like, I watched it in my own little vacuum, developed my own thoughts here, and I'm just going to go ahead and fire them away for all of you. But yeah, I personally liked what I saw. I thought the world space looked good. I thought the combat felt a little lacking. And overall, I wanted to see more of that choice and consequence play out. And I wasn't necessarily encouraged when I saw like iconography inside the dialogue system. Like, I wanted to see skills, that sort of thing. And maybe that's there, but again, it goes back to what I said, where it was enough for me to go, okay, I know I'm going to like this thing. I know I'm definitely going to play this thing, but I want to get into the weeds of it, thick of it more, and understand the game better, which I felt like this was the opportunity to do so, and I didn't feel like they really took full advantage of it. It's coming out in fall 2024. This is generally what I was expecting, that Avowed would be deeper in the year, because what we saw last year was apparently from a pre-alpha build. That's really early in development, so I felt like out of everything we were seeing in this showcase, this would need the most time. So I imagine, like a lot of games here that just had windows, we'll get things firmed up at the Xbox showcase in the summer. After this, the next game we saw was Hellblade II. Hellblade 2 is a game that I feel like I've seen enough on, especially after this. I feel like I've seen enough on, and thank goodness it is coming out very soon. May 21st, 2024. The rumors were correct. The leaks were correct. This game is coming out very soon. In fact, out of everything that we saw at the showcase, Hellblade 2 is the closest you're going to get, which was a little surprising to me. One thing that we had heard from Xbox was you were going to have your Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 games, and I feel like we got everything except Q1. So I don't know what exactly is happening in Q1 yet. And the surprise game, which we'll talk about next, wasn't any of the surprise games I think any of us were predicting. But nonetheless, we get Avowed here. It looks fantastic, really like fine-tuned. I had my whole speaker system going here, so hearing the audio coming out of both sides when people were like whispering things into Senna's ear, just the audio design is impeccable here, as it was in the first game. It seems like a very faithful sequel. They talked about right in the opening section of how it's a shorter narrative-led game. And I think definitely that's what people are looking for nowadays. In my opinion, there's just so many saturated open world time sinks in gaming. And if Hellblade 2 is in this pocket of like 20 hours or less, yeah, beautiful. 10 hours, I think people are going to eat that up. I think that's what more people want. I did want to learn more mechanically about the combat. It looks really good. It looks very tense. They said they want to make it feel like you're barely scraped by. So I want to see what mechanics they're going to add. They said they didn't want Senua to feel like a superhero. So I don't know if that's them saying like, hey, we're not going to add like she's going to find all these different materials on the ground, these different pieces of equipment, and she's going to make a warhammer, and so she's going to have like 8 weapons she's pulling out. I wasn't expecting that, but given that when I think of Ninja Theory, the game that comes to mind for me is the very shunned DMC game they made that I think is awesome, especially the combat in that game rules. So I was hoping to see if they were going to pull some mechanics maybe from that tool bag. We'll see. Nonetheless, though, it looks visceral. It looks hefty. It looks human. And I think there is a place for that, especially with the story that they're trying to tell here, which looks fantastic. If I were to draw a comparison to an existing game, I was talking a lot about this after the show, I would say that it is definitely reminding me of how I felt about A Plague Tale. I look at it, I see quality, I know quality. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a good time. I don't know why. There was a little bit of sandbagging around this game before it even had a chance to truly, fully show itself in this manner. Like we saw little snippets here and there, but there was a lot of people like going at this game, but I don't see how you can deny the quality you see on screen. Now, it just may not be your speed, but I think what Ninja Theory is working on looks spectacular. And out of everything we saw, it is the closest around the corner. So then we get this 5th surprise game added to the showcase, which was rumored. Insider Gaming said it was going to be something not major, so predictions were going around. You might have saw my video yesterday, talked about things like maybe Towerborn. Like I would say that's a more major kind of thing, but like maybe they don't consider it major. It's hard to gauge what people think is major and minor, right? So I was thinking like maybe it would be a smaller ID at Xbox game. No, it's Square Enix, and this is definitely some next level, work by Xbox to try to secure some partnerships, it seems, because we saw them renew their vows on the stage together for Final Fantasy XIV and hopefully like 7 Remake and any other Square Enix games making their way to the Xbox platform. This shows that developer directs can now open up to more third-party showings for particular games. There was no like Game Pass announcement. There wasn't any sort of reveals of exclusivity of any kind for Visions of Mana. Just like, hey, this is the first time this game is coming to our platform and we're going to celebrate it here. So we got to look at the art style, which I think looks incredible. It's coming summer 2024. We got, of course, a look at the creature design, which they really went in on. They spent time talking about the music, 100-song soundtrack, which based on what I heard in the actual developer direct, I went, yo, that 100 songs that maybe if they're at that quality, we're going to be feasting. And the combat looked really good, like a mixture of like aerial combat and juggles and spells, as well as air dodges and cinematic flair for like one of the finishers they had. It looks really good. It's coming summer 2024, and I was happy to see Xbox get more JRPG representation on like their big stage here. I think it's really important they continue to fortify that, although again it opens the door now to more and more third-party stuff creeping into developer directs in a way that could be a slippery slope, like a state of play where it's like, hey, we're doing a dedicated state of play for like Suicide Squad, even though this like isn't a PlayStation game entirely. Like we're doing this marketing deal with them. So I wonder if that's how Xbox is going to explore the developer direct moving forward. So it does open up some question marks, since everything we've seen up until this point was first party or exclusive or attached to the platform in a meaningful way, some way, somehow. So maybe there's more to it than meets the eye, but nonetheless, Visions of Mana looked really good, and I will be there no matter what. So yeah, at this point in the show, I'm like, okay, I'm digging what they're showing here, but like I have yet to really love on something presentation wise. Like everything I know here I'm going to play and I'm very excited for, but like presentation wise, I really wasn't losing my mind, because like I saw a lot of Hellblade. Avowed, I know it's like a known quantity for me. Like, okay, yeah, this looks good. But really, it wasn't until the unknown started to come in Aura, as well as Indiana Jones, that I was like, okay, we're hitting that next level now here. You could feel where Obsidian was kind of surface level, and that was, to me, more exposed when I was watching Aura History Untold. This game looks amazing, but my God, was I wrong about the release window. I thought this could be a Q1 game. They're like, hey, we'll see you fall 2024, which hurts my soul, because this is one of those time sync games. And around that time period, I'm reviewing typically a lot of games, and especially since a lot of games from Xbox are coming out around that time period. I know that this is one that I might not end up being able to give it my full attention. I was really crossing my fingers this would come out much, much sooner. Not just for my own schedule, but it was because the game looked amazing. It was like this mixture of RTS and city building, like AoE meets Civilization, but also Crusader Kings, and they showed this living world and how it's going to evolve. They showed mechanics I was really familiar with Civilization, which out of all the series I mentioned was the one I played the most. So they showed like, hey, you get prestige and this is how you like win battles. Do you want to be a leader who's focused on military or art or scientific achievements or triumphs, like these achievements of human history that you build? Like, how do you want to progress? And so it felt like a genre mixture almost, where like then they had a crafting system that was based within cities itself, and they also had this simultaneous turn system, which I think is going to be great for multiplayer. Although like when I played Civilization, I preferred to just do single player stuff. Like I just enjoyed the builds and the like, I'm gonna do this sort of campaign. It's like I'm gonna do an art win here, or in this case like art prestige. I don't know what they're gonna call it, but yeah, like I like that for the multiplayer dudes out there and dudettes, like you're gonna get a nice simultaneous turn system to minimize downtime. So it's not like, okay, I did my turn and here's my phone and yeah, I'm gonna go on this now. Like it keeps you engaged in the game, and I think that's really important. They mentioned like an insider program that was really helpful to them in building out this game, and they said they're gonna keep that alive as they support it more after launch. So it seems like they have bigger plans for the game. I know for a lot of people that's like, oh boy, no, I don't want more live service games, but this one I think looks really like a high quality game where I'm scared of the time I'm going to sink in the game. I will be honest with you all. But yeah, there's a lot of familiar Civilization mechanics, like, oh, here's our leaders, and they have unique traits and skills, and just, I wish, I truly, out of everything I saw, like, I was like, okay, I can be patient, but that was one I saw and went, man, I can't wait to play that. I don't know why these games are calling my name. Like, I saw the Frostpunk 2 Game Pass trailer, and I thought to myself, like, that looks amazing. So maybe I'm just mixing it up a little bit more as I get close to my 30s. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm figuring it out day by day, clearly. But Art History Untold was that moment I went like, oh, wow, like these devs are passionate. Not that the others weren't, but like these devs have true passion, true authentic excitement, and like, I cannot wait to play this one. It looks really good. And then the last game of the show, in my opinion, easily, like it cleared everything for me. Not only because it was new, but it really surpassed the expectations that I had set for it, was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, if you've watched my channel for years, you know that even in the thick of a lot of criticism being slung at Machine Games between, for some reason, people complaining about Wolfenstein 2, which I don't know when we decided as a community, like Wolfenstein 2 is apparently a bad game, but that blows my mind. I love that game. And then Youngblood, which I do not fully throw at Machine Games because they worked on it with Arcane. It was during that weird live service focus era for Bethesda and ZeniMax, which never needed to happen, but they made happen anyway. And we saw the products that came out of that era. So I don't really blame them for like their one singular, I think, bad video game. And otherwise, they have made gold. And here with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, as someone who, I gotta say it again, has not seen any indie movies, that will change this year. Fret not, we're working on things here. This game looks amazing. So good in every way. So my primary interaction with Indiana Jones, enough to make me actually dress up as Indy as a kid for Halloween, was Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, which is a game I played on my original Xbox, and I love that game so much. And this game, it felt like it captured all that and more. Like, what I loved about Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb was like the fist fighting. I don't know what it is, man, but just throwing bombs in that game felt so good. And I think it was like the sound design, the grunts, the punch sound effects. Like as a kid, I loved it so much, but also like how many pieces of equipment and tools you got and how you navigated the environment. Like your whip was good for combat, but it was also good for traversal. And yeah, like as a PS2, Xbox era game, like it was a little janky for sure, but it definitely like came into its own over time, and you would get a feel for things. Like it was all third person because you wanted to be indie. This game, to some people, it's a problem. To me, it's not. Is a mostly first-person game with third-person when it came to exploration and traversal, and the cutscenes are in third-person. So I feel like this is a good, happy medium where you get to play to the strengths of Machine Games, who, look at their track record, phenomenal first-person games. So you play to those strengths, while the cutscene direction, look, I saw that opening cutscene where Indy was buried in the sands of Africa and the villain was in his face just talking that smack to him. And I went, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be amazing, because immediately I got that same immersive, high quality acting, the sickening villains that Machine Games is known for. And I didn't think of it this whole time with knowing Indiana Jones. I'm like, wow, like they're gonna go there and get this weird twisted villain. It just immediately brought me there, and I thought, oh, with that cutscene quality, yeah, like I already know this is gonna be awesome. Todd Howard was a big focal point of this, unsurprisingly, because he's kind of like a superstar in gaming, but also it was like his whole entire pitch. Like he talked about, he pitched it to Lucasfilm, and then he talked to Machine Games, and like they talked about it was his vision from the setting to the story to how old he'd be. Like this was his dream game. And I always joke with people behind the scenes, I've never said this on camera, I've joked with people saying like, if you felt you got shortchanged with Starfield, it's probably because Todd was working on the real passion project over here. And obviously Machine Games should take the credit for it, because while it's his vision, it's them making it come to life here. But my God, like it looks awesome. And the first person gameplay really works for me, because I loved like the puzzles and how they talk about optional content. They really didn't focus on like what you get by completing these. So I don't know if you're going to get like treasures. It's going to be kind of like Uncharted, where, you know, those are the collectibles in the game. You saw Melee, a little bit of first person gunplay, but not much there to get a feel of what that would be like. It was really a focus on the whip. And I like that, because that's like his defining piece of equipment there. And you saw him using it for traversal, and when he used it in traversal, like it went into third person, and he like dropped down and started beating the heck out of people. They showed you could use it for distractions. I was like, that's brilliant. And then obviously use it for combat, where he was grabbing people by the legs, pulling them down on the ground, beating the snot out of them. Like, it was awesome. But what surprised me most was actually the performance of Indy. Like seeing him, the character model, as like the Harrison Ford model. I just feel like nowadays with these tie-in games or these IP licensed games, like you're never truly safe, so to say. Like you're never truly safe after seeing like how Avengers went. Like you're never safe in assuming, oh, this is going to be just like what I know in the theaters or the comics or whatever it ends up being. Like the most iconic representation is never a lock. So to see that here is fantastic. Also, it appears Troy Baker is going to be performing as Indiana Jones. And look, like I know there was a lot of people who were sick of Troy Baker. Like he was in everything in 2013. He got more picky. I haven't heard him in many games really since then. He kind of has that prestige to make those selections. But man, like his performance as Indy so far sounds so good, so true to character from what I know. I have to admit, I'm not the movie expert. Many people already know this about me. I specialize in games, but just, yeah, like I thought his performance was fantastic from what I saw so far, which is a real strength of Machine Games. And speaking of performances and characters, Locke had told me, because he loves the Indiana Jones movies, he told me that they brought back Marcus, who was this character that, you know, Indy was interacting with in one of the cutscenes that we saw in the gameplay trailer. And I thought that was a pretty special deal, because I know he was like in the first few movies, and obviously because the actor had passed away, was not in the last two. So this was kind of like a really special moment for, I think, Indiana Jones movie fans, because this also takes place, according to Machine Games, takes place between Lost Ark and Crusade. So I thought that this was just, again, a really big moment for Indy fans. And I knew for me, as someone who, you know, I have my own type of love for Indy, and I have to learn more about the IP to get that true, more intimate appreciation. But if I was excited, I could only imagine how like diehard Indy fans felt. So yeah, overall, like a great showing from Xbox from top to bottom. I have to say that the back half to me was way more exciting than the front half, but I think it's because the front half was stuff I've either seen a lot of, or I already knew kind of how I felt about it, or in, you know, the case of Avowed, I did want to see more from that. If I were to say highlight of the show, it was definitely Indy. It was that genuine, like, this is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. You tell me the date, I will be there no matter what. So yeah, that's how I felt about the Developer Direct. Really good time, really good games. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below. So fire away. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.